Has anyone had a celebrity not safe for work encounter? What's your story? This is actually from a director I worked with. In the 80s. He was hired as a backstage dresser for a Broadway show that had Patti LuPone in it, and it was his first show. I don't remember what the show was. But there was a scene where she runs off stage. He was instructed to stand right off stage and hold his hands out at a very specific position. Which is common in quick change situations where an actor might have to hand off or literally throw a costume piece to make their change. What actually happened is that his hands were in the perfect position to get 2 handfuls of boob. As she ran off stage, she pulled her breasts out so that he would grab them. Apparently she likes pranking new crew members. Breast prank ever. I had a friend who met Jason Segel at a bar in Lap. She said he was fairly drunk and all over the place with their conversation. At point he just point blank said to her, "So are we gonna have sex?" She said, "Number." He responded okay and then just walked away back to his table. Jason Segel once visited a Starbucks my friend worked at. The friend told me Jason politely asked his co-worker if she were interested in a one-night stand. It probably does work often enough. A guy walked by me at the airport as I sat waiting to board. And kid you not, farted mere inches from my face. I looked up. It was Bon Jovi. He couldn't hold on to what he's got. Edit. First gold ever. Thank you kind stranger and thanks. Bon Jovi's fart. Billy Joe Armstrong, Green Day, told Trecool, their drummer, to suck my dick. Instead he gave me some orange soda. I'm straight. It worked out. Back before they were popular. BJA banged my friend's girlfriend after a show. My friend is still pissed. This was like 25 years ago. Saw Tim Allen's mistress sprinting out of his trailer after his wife showed up at the set of one of those Santa Claus movies he was filming. Did he make those weird grunting sounds from Home Improvement? Back in the 90s. When Jean-Claude Van Damme was the shit. A relative was at a Vegas hotel and went down to use the sauna. He was in there shooting the shit with a business partner and in walks Van Damme. He says, "If you are who I think you are Majorcamp's favorite action star," and Van Damme confirmed and told him to tell me hello from him. Everyone was nude. Edit. I realize it may be normal to be nude in a sauna, but this is the best story I can offer. I rode in a hotel elevator with Red Sox pitcher Derek Lowe at like 2 in the morning while he was making out with 2 women at the same time. Peter, what would you do if you had $1 million? Deleted. Jean-Claude Van Damme asked me where he could find girls who liked big dicks. Haha. I'll put that one in my no fucks left bag. I went to a pool party in La around 2002 and there was a guy named Michael Bubble there. I don't think anyone had heard of him at the time. I remember meeting him only because my friend made fun of him when he introduced himself by calling him Michael Googly Moogly. Which was a reference to a line in a Snickers commercial. For the rest of the night he was known as Googly Moogly. Later that night, I walked into the bathroom in the guest house and he was taking a shit. I think it was about a year or 2 later that he became a big deal. I live in Vancouver. Where he's from. He asked out my friend's mom before he was famous. She said no. But I can tell in her eyes she regrets it, haha. I was next to the table of Leo DiCaprio at Catch and I saw him get with an 18-year-old IMG model, then proceeded to take her home. Saw them leave together like it was nothing. The girl had the biggest smile on her face too. I once nailed Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom. Roxanne. Not really NSFW, but I was at a hotel in South Africa looking for the bathroom when I got lost and ran into Lawrence Fishburne in a hallway. I pretended like I didn't know who he was and asked if he knew where the bathroom was. Like I probably would have asked anyone. Anyway. He was a very nice guy and walked me to the bathroom where he said, "The men's room is on the left. The women's room is on the right. The choice is yours." I almost died. You should have said whoa. When I was around 13, my cousin surprised me and took me to Leonardo DiCaprio's house. My cousin's newlywed husband was very good friends with him. This was around 15 years ago too. When Leo was in his absolute prime. And unbeknownst to him, I was completely and utterly obsessed. I'll never forget sitting on his white leather couch just waiting for him to walk into the room we were all in. And out he came with a trail of smoke behind him. High as a kite with a fat joint in between his fingers. And I mean, he was high AF. I didn't even recognize him due to his scruffy beard and long matted hair. Not really NSFW, but pretty funny that I was expecting him to look like Jack from the Titanic, but he could have passed as the dude. When you look for Jack and find Howard Hughes. Me and my dad met Rick Astley. I shook his hand. Said big fan. Dad didn't shake his hand, sorry. My hands are sticky. Rick smiles and says my hands are usually sticky too. Then grins. We're no strangers to urges. You know the rules and so do I. Full masturbation's what I'm thinking of. I wouldn't shake hands with any other guy. Not sure if Alexis Texas classifies as celeb, but she did take off her thong and stuff it in my face during one of her strip shows. How is that not safe for work if she was actually working? I was in a very massive men's room at a venue taking a piss. I was about 15 urinals deep and bathroom was completely empty, as far as I could tell, besides me. In walks Jack Black. He walks right up to the urinal next to me. Nothing weird happened. But I always found it bizarre that he didn't space himself out better. That's a man code violation. He probably did it knowing that it was going to leave you with a story. My sister ran into Matthew McConaughey in a bar years ago. They hit it off. And they went back to her place. She got overwhelmed by nerves and said she had to go run out to her car to get something. She sat in her car freaking out for God knows how long until he eventually gave up and left. Must have baffled the poor guy. He understood. It was a Lincoln. Deleted. Khaled strikes again. I was at a Jim Jeffries stand-up show in Dallas. Sure enough, he pounds over 10 beers doing his routine. After the show he's hanging at the bar belligerently drunk. My friend and I head over to say what's up. Before we could say anything, Jim grabs my friend. Forcefully bends him over and pretends to fuck him in the ass in front of everyone there. Best night of my friend's life. Not really NSFW. But I know a dude who danced with Renee Zellweger at a wedding. And dropped her while doing so. Wasn't real safe for her, I guess. NSFW, not safe for wedding. I'm a Mexican guy that works at Home Depot. Rob Schneider used to come in a lot. I am not paying you to watch TV. Now get in the damn shower. Ezekiel Elliott told me to go fuck myself. Deleted. Went to the U2 concert in LA a couple years back and saw Pierce Brosnan walking through the parking lot of the Forum. As I walked by I said Bond. James Bond. He gave me the most revolting look and said fucking wanker. Totally made my day. I believe this more than most of the stories in here. Friend was pissing next to Shaq at a club in Miami. Of course he can't keep his eyes on the road. And tried to sneak a peek at Shaq's junk. Shaq turns to him. Smiles and says crazy right? Big Nia. Regular dick. All I can think about is how your friend was probably eye level with his junk. Friend of ours is a hotel hospitality manager. She was alone in a room with Russell Brand. He very politely offered to have sex with her. She said her husband was waiting downstairs for her. Brand said he could come up too. This doesn't surprise me in the least bit. Andy Dick tried to pull me into a bathroom after we did some blow together at a party in Hollywood Hills. I pulled away, but he took my best friend who's a total fiend. He never told me what exactly happened. Edit, it appears all of Reddit as a NSFW Andy Dick story. I don't even think the cocaine knew what was happening. Chuck Berry got me in a hotel room and told me what he planned to do with me. This was back in the 80s and I was stupid and naive as hell. Let's just say I got the hell out of there. Edit. Okay. People. He simply told me he was going to have sex with me. There was no poop. No pee. No bathroom. And no glass table or other furniture involved. I didn't remove any clothing. Nor did he. No attempted rape occurred. And I left. It was boring except for the fact that a rock and roll legend told me he was going to do me. Then I left. The end. Deleted. David Spade is exactly the asshole you'd expect him to be. He opened for Bobcat Goldthwait and my roommate's best friend was Bobcat's brother. I got to go backstage after the show and we were sitting in a circle with Bob's brother and there was another group of people just standing off to the side. Bob came out of the shower and sat down next to me and started talking. Genuinely a good guy. Spent 20 minutes talking with him. One of the people standing off to the side was a girl on crutches. I felt bad, so I suggested that they pull up a chair and join us. To help her, I got up and pulled a chair over for her. I turned around and Spade took my seat. flipped me the bird and told me to fuck off. The day he got tased by his bodyguard was a glorious one. He got tasered by his bodyguard? I shook Bruce Campbell's hand. 2 minutes earlier I had beated my meat and did not wash my hands. Sorry Bruce, love you. Where were you that you went from masturbating to shaking Bruce's hand in 2 minutes? I was working on a behind-the-scenes featurette for a movie starring Keanu Reeves and Renée Zellweger. I had to wire the lav under Renee's shirt and clip it to her bra. And I totally accidentally grabbed her boob. She looked me right in the eye and said, "Geez. Buy me a drink, okay? But did you buy her the drink?" I saw myself naked once or twice. Not exactly a celebrity at the moment. But this drunk guy said I had potential. You were that drunk guy, weren't you? Deleted. So that's why they call him McLovin. My mom grew up with Rob Lowe as her neighbor. She dated him in middle school and they were apparently found making out in a closet at school one time. She says that he was one of those kissers that uses enough tongue to lick your vocal cords. What the fuck kind of detail is that for your mom to tell you? I have been handed weed by numerous musicians leaving the hotel I worked at. Snoop. Angus Stone. One of the Blink-182 guys. etc. Let me guess. Tom DeLonge? I once motioned for Brittany Snow to sign her Maxim Hot 100 photo. She pushed her hair in front of her face and gave me the cold shoulder. That was definitely the most awkward wait for a plane restroom I've ever experienced. She just stood there facing the wall like some fucking Blair Witch victim. I can't stop laughing at this. I walked in on Benny Benassi getting a blowjob in the VIP bathroom of a club in Denver. Did he get satisfaction? I asked Winona Ryder out to lunch on an elevator. She said she had to work. I always tell myself she didn't say no. You should have offered to take her to a restaurant instead of an elevator. 2 reality TV stars have seen my dick. One was on Survivor. The other was on Biggest Loser. The one on Biggest Loser sucked it. The other one watched me piss in a cup for a drug test. Deleted. For the heck of it. The Tony-winning actors in the past 5 years that have wives. Norbert Leo Butz. Leslie Odom Jr. Denzel Washington. Mark Rylance. James Corden. Tracy Letts. Bryan Cranston. Eddie Redmayne. Courtney Vance. Reed Birney. John LaRoquette. Michael McGrath. James Monroe Inglad. That's just acting awards and those with wives on their Wikipedia pages. NASCAR driver Matt Kenseth once quietly flipped me off when I was at the track before a race. If that counts. If that counts. Well. He didn't fuck you in the ass, so I'm gonna have to deduct a few points. Ray Liotta once stared at me while he sensually ate a piece of sushi. Heard German soccer stars Mark Royce and Mario Götze talking about butt-fucking 17-year-olds in a restroom of a club in Munich. They didn't see me as I was taking a dump in the stall. Met Gary Busey at an airport in Tulsa. Okay. Through a strange course of conversation in which he insulted nearly everyone. He ended with a joke. Gary, did you ever hear about the poor family? Me, no. Gary, they were so poor. They had to jerk off the dog to feed the cat. He then chuckled to himself. Grabbed the next taxi. And left us speechless. Formatting. I said to myself what the fuck until I remembered you mentioned Gary Busey. Not me, but my friend banged Mark Wahlberg at Cannes in the late 90s. They were at one of the parties. They drank. They flirted. They went to his hotel room. They boned. Pretty standard stuff for Marky Mark around that time, I reckon. My friend was super hot with perfect 10 tits and ass. So I wasn't surprised she pulled a movie star. Not me. But my friend puked on Shawn Mendes at a party. He was pretty cool about it. I was 18 and on vacation at the Atlantis in the Bahamas. It was at night. And my friend and I were exploring the grounds. A big black limo pulled up near the main entrance and Van Troyer, Mini-Me, stepped out with a beautiful woman and a few big-built bodyguards. My friend and I were like, OMFG, we gotta get a picture with him. So we asked him politely and he said yes, but only one. So my friend stood on his left and I stood on his right and the bodyguard took the pic. Disposable camera days. While the picture was being taken, Van had his left hand firmly planted on her ass. And the right hand firmly planted on mine. He was pinching so hard. I guess I can't blame him as our asses are our level for him. So yeah. TLDR, Mini-me got a copper feel on myself and a friend in the Bahamas. There was that dude who banged a lesser savage and reminisced with her about it in her ama. https://www. Reddit. Ariyama comments /3mgw0te ama UK punster a lesser savage ama CVF73K5? For those interested. I called Prince Harry a cunt when he was hitting on the girl I was seeing and he was plying her with expensive champagne. He said he'd get me a pint. He still owes me that pint and it's been 5 years. LOL, my fiancé broke his nose in rugby if that's any consolation. I haven't, but my great aunt did. We're pretty certain she fucked Picasso after meeting him repeatedly, with photographs to prove it. His portrait of her looked nice in her living room. Ron Howard called me a little shit after I peeked in a window and apparently screwed up a take during filming some made-for-TV thing. Way back in the 80s. I've made a huge mistake. I used to work at Quiznos in the early 2000s. Porn star Peter North came in and ordered a sandwich. I giggled when he asked for an extra squirt of ranch dressing on it. Deleted. Didn't know who she was. Had to Google. Wish I could upvote more than once. 10/10 would elbow her. Probably not in the same league as other posts. But in late October 2008 I was in the rear stage crowd for a rally starring Joe Biden. And after the rally he was shaking hands with the crowd and when he came to me. This exchange happened. Me, hey Joe. 4 more days. Buddy. Joe yanked me in close. Joe Biden, yelling, "You're goddamn right. Obama, Joe. Why would you do that? Biden, because they're goddamn right, Barack." Not really NSFW, but when I was 10, I got invited to some photoshoot with WWF stars. I remember having to go to the bathroom. So when I opened the door, which wasn't locked, fucking Goldust is there taking a huge shit and I'm just there starting at him in disbelief and he's staring at me. I eventually close the door. He finally gets out and I go in and he gives me this huge stare down. He was like a monster. I got a little scared, but whatever. I end up going in and I remember it smelling so bad I finish up and open the door and who was waiting next? Fucking Stacy Keibler. Only thing I told her was, it wasn't me, it was Goldust. I live in NYC. We normally ignore celebs, but one time I walked past David Blaine. I shouted, "Do a magic trick," he replied. "Try finding your dick. That's magic too." I walked away in silence. My friend once went to a Bam Margera concert, can't remember the name of the band, and was invited on the tour bus after the show with one of her friends. Bam propositioned them both for sex, but it was just my friend that accepted. She ended up being passed around the band and had a 3-way at one point. Oh yeah. Now she's married to the guy she was with when she fucked the entire band. 10/10 should get tested. I hung out with Ron Perlman and Pierce Brown in a strip club once. Ron was already drunk and I went to talk to him. He seemed a little bit annoyed, but I also brought him a girl. I got one myself and we went to the private dance area. He ended up paying for my girl as well. Felt a little bit bad for Pierce since it looked like he wasn't having as much fun though. Deleted. While back I worked at one of our local radio stations and was answering the front lines for the Talk line. Carlos Mencia comes in wearing the loudest sequin-looking button-up in history. He there to talk on the air. The jock and my GM and promotions director meet him at the door and they chit-chat. In the middle of a story he says, "Hey. Nice time McCrattery, male secretary I assume. There any coffee?" I look up and without thinking say, "Sweet shirt George Lopez." My boss and the promo director look at me like I was fired before I finished my sentence. Carlos looks over and starts to laugh. "Good one," he says, "but seriously. Is there any coffee?" Not NSFW. But still love to think of the look on my boss's face. There's a good chance your joke is now part of Mencia's act. Threw up on Neil McDonough's shoes leaving the Coronet in 2003. That's about as close as I got. A friend of mine got into a situation with Wayne Coyne of the Flaming Lips. She got hammered at a bar and flashed everyone. He was in town recording an album. Took a picture. And promptly tweeted it out to his more than 100,000 followers. The end result was her threatening a lawsuit and him taking the picture down. Both of them have blocked one another on Twitter to this day. Not me, but a pretty female friend who works for Tesla. Not sure the position. As the story goes, Leonardo DiCaprio comes in one day to buy a Tesla for his dad. Asks her where the restrooms are, so she tells him. He pauses for a minute before asking her if she would like to join him. She did not. Dude does not fucking stop. There's gotta be 30 fucking Leo stories on this post. Not NSFW, but Henry Winkler once asked me if I have a learning disability. I don't. I worked on the catering team during filming for Warhorse. There's quite a few people I met there. But one story sticks out. One day, we had a goat's cheese tart on the specials board. So cue a load of jokes from the extras I served that day. Before long, one of the better known actors came up to me and said, "I'll have the tart please." Before I can get him his food, the chef comes up behind me, puts his arm around me and says, "She'll give you one cheese-a-right tart. This one. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I was introduced to Benedict Cumberbatch." I got to meet Lil Dicky after his show in London and watched him and his guest performer buy drugs from one of the audience members. Also, these two girls were swanning over him real hard, and my girlfriend and I laughed about how ridiculous they were being. Checked LD's Snapchat story later that night and he took the two girls back to his hotel. I was working in a NYC restaurant and Sean Lennon and Charlotte Kemp Mull came in. Very under the influence of something. They were actually super nice. But as the evening wore on, Charlotte's shirt fell all the way open and her boob was just out for like half an hour. And they didn't seem to notice. Other patrons were staring. Management was having whispered "do we tell her?" conversations. Finally, our most gloriously Brooklyn waitress walked over and said, "Yoma, your tits out." Charlotte politely thanked her and put it away. TMZ is getting lazy. I asked for Andre Agassi's autograph when I was probably 11 or 12. He told me to fuck off. I almost spilled hot soup right on Clint Eastwood's head. I was an extra in Jersey Boys and went into the wrong trailer to eat. Pushed the door open and stood there looking at all the people not in period costume and realized I needed to leave. Looked down and a familiar shaped head was right below my plate of hot foot and bowl of hot stuff. They shouldn't let people sit that close to the door. It's dangerous. TLDR almost covered Clint Eastwood in a hot loaf of soup. Jose Fernandez walked up to me and shook my hand while he was butt-ass naked in the Marlins locker room the day of his first home start. Great guy. The player that introduced us said that this guy was going to be the next big thing. The day before that I was in a sauna with Alonzo Mourning at his country club in Miami. Despite not being gay, I brag on seeing these dicks quite a bit. Rip Jose. Not me. But a family friend went to high school with Barack Obama in Hawaii and said Barry was practically a professional stoner. No. But a friend was once picked up hitchhiking by Chris Farley. And she said she was pretty sure it's because he thought she was a prostitute. Chris Catton smoked hash in my work's public bathroom. The store is no longer there. He was there for an appearance for some reason. And was already high as fuck. I legitimately have never met someone as oblivious as Chris Catton. He was like a child. And not deliberately. I was working in a spa a few years back. I was walking through the men's changing room and as I went past the steam room, Jason Alexander walked out completely naked. Needless to say, that is the most famous penis I've ever seen in real life. Like a frightened turtle? Was he swimming? Channing Tatum drunkenly hitting on a really pregnant woman in an elevator during RSDCC, 2010/11? While my equally drunk friend kept trying to talk to him about how shitty Gijo was. I was working at a nice bar restaurant in Beverly Hills a few years ago. Rachel McAdams walks in and orders a martini. I pretended I didn't know who she was and there were only a few people at the bar, so I talked to her for a few minutes. Just basic chit chat. Then, this guy comes in and sits next to her. Turns out, they're dating. They go get dinner together. Have a few drinks. When it's over, she walks past the bar, smiles at me, and says, "Good night." Then she went home and probably fucked that guy she was dating. It was wild. I have a friend who has been working in TV production for many years now. He slept with Felicia Day at an after party and they were friends with benefits for a while. Late to this. And it's not so NSFW. But it's about Prince. So here we go. On his backstage rider, Apparently Prince liked to have a table overlaid with a white tablecloth, upon which should be placed a bag of cashews. Except the cashews should be separated and placed on a grid, approximately 1 inch apart. Before a Glasgow concert, Prince came backstage and saw his white cloth-covered table, but instead of being laid out, the cashews were still in the bag. He complained. A Glasgow roadie was asked to lay out the cashews in accordance with Prince's requirements. The roadie took the bag from the table, threw it at the pint-sized pop straw and said, "Just eat your fucking nuts. You're weak cunt." I hooked up with a British comedian after a show once. We were drinking in his hotel bar. Then he asked me back to his room. I was wasted on the BBC's money, so I agreed. We gave each other lackluster head and he didn't make me come. Then he got hiccups and I called it a night. I was once sitting in a plane, a row in front of Hulk Hogan. He was extremely hungry and very vocal and cranky about it. Since we had just boarded, the flight attendants couldn't serve anything yet, and that got him even angrier. TBH, I was expecting him to rip his shirt off. My mom had packed some grapes for my baby sister, and decided to offer them to him to calm the Hulk. I've never seen someone wolf down food like that. It was like I was witnessing a sexual encounter between him and the grapes. My mother once slapped Jimmy Page across the face for grabbing her tits backstage at a show her then boyfriend was working at. She had no idea who he was until about 30 minutes later when she saw him on stage. My daughter and I were walking through Lax when she was about 4. She was looking around mindlessly like children do and just talking away. Suddenly Bam walks into Penn Jillette with her head and hits him right in the nuts. Deleted. In 1977 or so I went to the restroom at a Walt Disney paddle boat restaurant. I was alone in the restroom and 3 security type guys came in and made sure the restroom was clear other than me. Then Michael Jackson came in. He relieved himself in the urinal next to me. Nothing bizarre happened. I worked as an extra on a movie set. The Internship. Vince Vaughn was standing behind me as I'm standing next to this girl just chatting in between shots. We never noticed him and all of a sudden, he just does one of those ahem excuse me type of coughs. I turned around and there he is. I'm 5'9". He's much larger. He says, "Are you gonna fucking move or what, man?" Me and girl kind of sidestepped, and he walked between us. There was plenty of room on either side, and he was legitimately just being an asshole. Not really NSFW, but fuck Vince Vaughn. BTW. He wears a back brace. IDK what sort of trouble he has. But it was odd to see him unstrap it as he walked into the shots.